Imagine walking through a grocery store, thinking you're making healthy choices for your family, only to discover those foods might be fueling a silent epidemic. Surprising, isn't it? Chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease have exploded in the last few decades, and the culprit often sits quietly on our plates. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been ringing the alarm about something most of us never think twice about: food toxins. Yes, the bright colors and natural flavors in what we eat may be doing more harm than we ever realized. But here's the twist. While other countries have banned these harmful substances, the US keeps allowing them, exposing millions, especially children, to health risks. Shocking, right? What if the very snack you pack for your kid's lunch could be linked to ADHD or even cancer? It's an unsettling truth, but one that Robert Kennedy Jr. believes we need to confront head-on. The good news? You don't have to navigate this alone. Stick around, because this video will uncover the hidden dangers in your food and show you the practical steps to break free from this toxic cycle. Since the 1990s, the health of Americans has taken a dramatic turn for the worse. Obesity, diabetes, and heart disease have surged at unprecedented rates, creating a chronic health crisis that affects millions. This isn't just about bad luck or genetics. It's largely the result of harmful food practices that have quietly infiltrated American households. Imagine walking into a grocery store and seeing rows of brightly packaged products. They look harmless, even healthy at times, but many of them are loaded with ingredients that slowly undermine health. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been a vocal advocate, pointing out how these trends have shaped a generation that is less healthy than their parents. The ripple effects of this crisis are hard to ignore. Think about a young child being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, something that was virtually unheard of decades ago. Or a family struggling with the burden of chronic illnesses that drain both emotional and financial resources. This is not an abstract problem. It's a lived reality for many. The rise of chronic diseases like obesity and heart disease isn't just a personal challenge, it's a societal one, deeply tied to the widespread consumption of ultra-processed foods. As Robert Kennedy Jr. has highlighted, this issue is rooted in the larger system, where food companies prioritize profit over public health, creating a dangerous cycle that targets the most vulnerable, including children. What's even more troubling is how normalized this has become. Meals packed with harmful additives are served daily in schools, homes, and even hospitals. The solution isn't always easy, but it's achievable. Imagine teaching kids to spot hidden sugars or harmful chemicals in their favorite snacks. A simple step, like swapping sugary drinks for infused water or fresh juices, can make a significant difference. And this is just the beginning. When we start to dig into the details of what's actually in our food, we find a much deeper, more disturbing story, one that leads us directly to the hidden toxins we unknowingly consume every day. Hidden within the bright colors and bold labels of everyday foods are ingredients that most of us can't even pronounce, let alone understand. One of the worst offenders? Tartrazine, also known as yellow dye number 5. This chemical, derived from petroleum and industrial byproducts, is a staple in many processed foods and drinks. Robert Kennedy Jr. has brought attention to this toxic additive, highlighting its severe health effects, including links to ADHD, asthma, and even cancer. Imagine giving your child a healthy snack only to discover it's laced with substances that harm their developing body. These toxins don't just appear in obvious junk food. They sneak into items marketed as healthy, like certain cereals, flavored yogurts, or even sports drinks. It's unsettling to think that the foods we rely on for nourishment might actually be doing us harm. Robert Kennedy Jr. has pointed out how industries use these additives to make products more appealing, bright colors, longer shelf lives, but at a devastating cost to public health. For instance, research has shown that children exposed to high levels of tartrazine often experience behavioral issues, yet the additive remains widely used in the United States. So, what can be done? First, awareness is key. Start by reading ingredient labels carefully. If it sounds more like a chemistry experiment than a food product, it's probably best avoided. Secondly, look for alternatives. Many countries have already banned tartrazine, proving that safer options exist. As you rethink your food choices, you might wonder, if these harmful additives are banned elsewhere, why are they still allowed in the US? The answer lies in the complex and often unsettling world of food regulations, a topic that reveals just how far behind America is when it comes to protecting public health. When it comes to food safety, not all countries play by the same rules. While the United States continues to allow harmful additives like tartrazine and other toxic chemicals, many nations have taken a stricter stance. For instance, countries in the European Union have banned several artificial dyes and additives, requiring clear labeling and safety standards that prioritize public health. Robert Kennedy Jr. has frequently compared these practices, emphasizing how the U.S. lags behind in protecting its citizens. It's hard not to wonder, why are Americans still exposed to substances deemed unsafe elsewhere? The differences are startling. In Europe, brightly colored candies or snacks might be made with natural alternatives, such as beet juice or turmeric, while similar products in the U.S. are loaded with petroleum-derived dyes. Robert Kennedy Jr. has pointed out that this isn't just about consumer preference, it's about how governments prioritize the health of their people. In places like Norway or Austria, additives like tartrazine have been banned outright, sending a strong message that public health comes first. Meanwhile, in the U.S., these same additives continue to saturate school lunches, grocery aisles, and even medications. This disparity raises important questions about accountability. If safer options exist and are already in use abroad, why isn't the U.S. adopting similar policies? Consumers can take action by choosing products imported from countries with stricter standards or by supporting brands that voluntarily eliminate harmful additives. Still, as Robert Kennedy Jr. suggests, true change requires more than personal choices. It demands systemic reform. And this imbalance leads to a deeper issue: the way harmful additives perpetuate a cycle of poor health, particularly among children, who often bear the brunt of these lax regulations. The cycle of harm caused by food additives is both insidious and pervasive. Harmful chemicals like tartrazine don't just appear in obvious junk food. They're hiding in unexpected places: healthy foods, medications, and even vitamins marketed for kids. Robert Kennedy Jr. has shed light on this disturbing trend, explaining how these additives create a vicious loop. For example, a parent might choose a fortified cereal for their child, thinking it's a nutritious option, only to find it's loaded with chemicals that may contribute to ADHD or other health issues. This cycle begins early and traps families in a pattern of poor health masked as convenience. What's even more alarming is how deeply these additives impact children. Imagine a young student struggling to focus in school, misdiagnosed as simply having behavioral issues, when in reality, their body is reacting to toxins in their daily diet. Robert Kennedy Jr. has emphasized how industries perpetuate this problem by marketing products that seem beneficial but are, in fact, harmful. Medications meant to treat conditions like asthma or allergies sometimes contain the very additives that exacerbate those same issues. It's a system where the solution is often tied to the problem, keeping families dependent on products that never truly address the root causes. Breaking this cycle requires a combination of awareness and action. Parents can start by prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods and researching alternatives to mainstream brands. For instance, instead of flavored vitamins packed with artificial dyes, opt for natural supplements from trusted companies. As Robert Kennedy Jr. suggests, while individual choices make a difference, the larger issue lies in the policies and industries that allow these practices to continue unchecked. It's this systemic flaw that demands deeper scrutiny, leading us to the question of what actions are being taken, and by whom, to turn the tide. In recent years, there have been small but significant policy shifts aimed at addressing the issue of harmful additives. Under President Trump, 8 chemical additives were banned, marking a step forward in the fight for safer food practices. However, as Robert Kennedy Jr. has pointed out, these actions, though promising, are far from sufficient. Many other harmful chemicals, like tartrazine, continue to be widely used, leaving the health of millions, especially children, at risk. The lack of comprehensive policy reform raises a critical question. Why is progress so slow when the stakes are so high? Part of the problem lies in political inertia. While some leaders have taken steps to challenge the status quo, others remain silent or resistant to change. Robert Kennedy Jr. has criticized this inaction, urging both consumers and policymakers to demand more. For instance, he's highlighted how other countries, like those in Europe, have made strides in eliminating dangerous additives, proving that it's not only possible but effective. In contrast, the U.S. food industry often prioritizes profit over public health, with lobbying efforts stalling meaningful reform. This gap in policy reflects a systemic failure that affects every American who unknowingly consumes these harmful substances. So, where does that leave us? Advocacy and education are key. Individuals can support petitions, vote for leaders prioritizing health, and share knowledge about the dangers of harmful additives. As Robert Kennedy Jr. has emphasized, real change comes when public pressure meets political will. But as we push for reforms, we're left with a lingering truth. The fight against harmful food practices is far from over, and the responsibility to act now rests on every one of us. So, now that you know what's really lurking in your food, the question is, what are you going to do about it? Will you keep feeding into a system that prioritizes profit over your family's health? Or will you take control of what ends up on your plate? Imagine a life where you no longer have to second-guess every meal, where your kids grow up healthy and free from the grip of chronic diseases. Doesn't that sound worth the effort? Start by making small but impactful changes. Look at labels, ask questions, and choose products from brands that value your health. Advocate for policy changes by supporting leaders like Robert Kennedy Jr., who challenge the status quo and fight for safer food practices. And remember, it's not just about what you avoid, it's about what you embrace. Fresh, natural foods can transform not just your diet but your entire life. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden dangers of food toxins, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and join this community of informed, empowered individuals. Together, we'll uncover the truths they don't want us to see and take steps to create healthier lives for ourselves and future generations. What are you waiting for? Your journey starts now.